All right. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Good to see some familiar and some new faces on our call today. For those of you that are joining our call for the very first time, or this is something that maybe it's not, something you're on every single week. So every Tuesday, 10 a.m. I love doing this call. It's for my YouTube channel that I started last year. I really believe after going through a ton of things and almost 20 years of being an entrepreneur, that I have a lot to share with the world and a lot of things that I can share that can help you guys really build the life that you want and create the world and the opportunities and live the life that you want. And so every so often I'm inviting some of my friends and other entrepreneurs on the call to share their stories and share their experiences and really just share the good stuff and maybe some of the stuff that's been challenging in their companies and their businesses. And I'll tell you that our guest today, Adrienne Petticord, is one of the best young entrepreneurs I've met in the last 10 years. And she's had an incredible business she's created and started, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that, a little bit about her background. But very good, very close friend of mine. I think we are just meant to be friends and partners in businesses. Her dad's name is Ken as well. And I think there's something about just Ken, they're just awesome people. So I think we were kind of meant to meet in our lives. But hi, Adrienne, how are you this morning?
Hi, Ken. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good.
Great. I'm on my dad's laptop, so the Zoom up or the updates the computer wants to do like right when you need it. It's totally fine. We find a way to win. So sorry, I'm on his laptop, but I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. So Adrienne, if you're cool, then we're going to jump right in. Is that all right?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So do you mind sharing with, obviously there's some people on the call today that know a little bit about your, background and things. I know I see some of my new guys that literally just joined my company yesterday that have no idea who Adrienne Petticord is. So do you mind just sharing, a little bit before starting in sales and your first kind of really sales gig that you've ever done? What was your upbringing like? Where are you from? What did you do? I know you worked in the medical field a little bit before, getting into sales and entrepreneurship. So do you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just had like some memories pop up on my phone from Snapchat when I was in your guys' office and I met Sanjay like a year ago, and it's awesome. So I love being on this, virtual world with you guys. I wish I could do it in person, but I'll hug you all soon. So my name is Adrienne Petticord, or Starworth, whichever. Most people, it's hyphenated, so you can call me either one. But I got married last year, so most people know me as Petticord just because that's how I started in the business. I'm 33 years old. I just turned 33 back in November. I just had a little baby girl in the beginning of November. So she's almost 3 months old already. It's crazy. I got married at the end of 2019. But if you want to backtrack, I started in this business in June of 2017. Before that, I went to school for dental hygiene, medical imaging, and nursing. So I worked in the medical field for years before this. I actually bartended and served all through school. So a lot of late nights, early mornings, sleeping in parking garages, being on call. I worked for an OBGYN that did emergency labor and delivery. I also managed a medical imaging facility. So there's a medical imaging facility in Cincinnati, Ohio called ProScan, and they're best known for, they're inside of Paul Brown Stadium, which is the home to the Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals, and anyone that they play, I was the one that scanned them. So if they got hurt or anything happened to them, and then I typed up the reports and sent them over to the surgeons and prepped them for surgery and whatnot. So I did that, and then worked for an OBGYN, so dealt with little itty bitty babies and pregnant women and hormones and so on and so forth. So I went to school for a very, 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 very long time. On paper, it looks like I should be a surgeon like twice over, to be honest with you. All the credit hours. I went to University of Louisville, University of Kentucky, and I went to University of Cincinnati, all the rivals. So I did that, and I did that for what, 12, all in all 12 years, the medical field. So it's all I knew. I eat, slept, breathe medical field. I was on call. So I worked on call and had pretty much no structure in my life at all. So, I had to be there whenever there was a need, or if someone needed a report at 2 a.m. because they were in California or another part of the country or in the world somewhere else, whatever. So I was basically on call. I worked on average 90.3 hours a week. That's what I averaged in 2017. So when I came into this, I actually tore my meniscus, got hurt. I did play soccer through college, so I think it was just wear and tear from getting older, and my knees both gave out back to back. And so I had meniscus surgery, and I really started, I was pretty much laid up and took some time off and started really thinking if I wanted to do this the rest of my life, because at the time, my now husband, he was boyfriend, I wouldn't commit because it wasn't fair. I worked. I saw him in passing every other Sunday, and we got to spend like 1 or 2 hours, and he was just very persistent and stuck around because he was also very busy. He was in the military, he was in school, he also worked full time. So it kind of worked for us, but I knew that wasn't going to last forever. So when I actually got hurt and took about 6 months off, I was on leave. I was going stir crazy because I was used to working 90 hours. So I did this as a temporary job, you guys. This was just like a thing that I did to keep me busy the summer of 2017. So I started in Corey Capone's office in Cincinnati, and when I went in for the interview, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't understand what it was. It was something about green energy at the time, and I don't know, there was music bumping in the atmosphere, pre-COVID days. And I was like, okay, these people seem cool. I can spend my summer here. And I remember going home though and being like, I'm never going to get brought back for a second. Like, there's no way. I don't know anything about sales. And sure enough, he did call me back for a second. So I went in for my second round interview. And I remember I had to drop off these papers for a surgery on AJ Green. If you guys know who he is, he plays for the Bengals. I had to swing by the stadium, drop those off. So I was cutting it really close, and I hate being late. So I pulled into Corey's office, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, you have your master's degree. Like, why are you sitting here? Why are you this isn't for you. And this giant truck, Centos truck, pulled up and blocked me in my parking spot. And I was like, all right, universe, I see you. I'll go in. Like, fine, I'm blocked. I was about to reverse out. Like, I was not going to go in. I even was like, I called my mom, like, I don't think I'm going to go in for this. And I don't know what I'm doing, it's closed, but I don't know. My brother is the expert in sales. He did sales for iHeartRadio up until like a month ago, and he switched jobs. But I literally walked in there, went on a second interview, and I was the nightmare of an interview. I was on a double interview, and the guy interviewing me, his name was Michael. He was going through, and he's like, oh, we do residential sales. We're face-to-face. We're for a green energy company. And I was like, oh, so is this door to door? And he was like, well, we do face-to-face, and we have customer interaction face-to-face. I'm like, do you knock on one door, try to pitch something, walk down the steps, go to another door? And he was just like, yes, that is what we do. And I was like, okay. And like, for me, I was like, that's awesome. Like, I can walk around outside. I can meet dogs all day. I can sign up people, talk to people, maybe grab a hamburger or two, meet some new friends, and I just looked at it as like a fun opportunity to get to be outside instead of being cooped up in a little bitty room all day. And he was like, what is wrong with you? So, when I was offered, I accepted, and I started on residential Star Energy. Kim was on it at the time too, in June of 2017. I ended up, it was only a temporary position until November. I was very honest about that. And October comes around, and NRG retail gets brought up. And so Corey comes to me and says, hey, I know you're trying to go back to the medical field, but this is a huge opportunity. You're really good at this. Like, why don't you maybe try, like, would you like to try it with me? And I had at this point seen the opportunity at 2 weeks in business. I got asked to go to national conference in New Orleans. I saw Brandy Parks, our like senior national platinum diamond executive consultant, up on stage celebrating her 20 years. We were just joking about that the other day. And then there was a hillbilly on stage making like $193,000 in overrides. And he was my motivation. I just found out that was Justin Hageman, like on a call with him the other day. And I was calling him a hillbilly and he was me mugging me. And I found out it was him. So I found him and, I saw this opportunity. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So Yannick, she runs an office in Toledo. She's my best friend. She was my maid of honor, my wedding, and the only person in my wedding, really the only female. And so I was training her on residential, and I was helping her train her first new start. And we pinky promised each other. She really wanted to do this. And she's like, I'm only going to do this if you do this. And I said, you know what? Why not? And she's like, really, you mean it? I was like, pinky promise. I've never broken a pinky promise. And I went home that night and I told my now husband, I'm doing this thing. I'm going to run an office in a year. I'm going to have to move. I don't know where, I don't know when, but I'm going to give this 110%. I need your support. If you want to go with me, awesome. If not, I understand. I love you. Good night. And that was literally like the only conversation we ever had about it. And sure enough, that was in October. So we went and trained on NRG. I got promoted to assistant management in February. It took 3 months once we started in November. And then I opened my office here in Columbus, Ohio, April 30th of 2018, which is when I had my first Lear Nation call with him. And yeah, that year I pushed and pushed. I won Rookie Owner of the Year that year, and I promoted out 2 deals that year. And yeah, I've been there ever since. And now, we're rebuilding through COVID, and the rest is history. And my goal is to get to consultant by 2023. So I love it. I love it so much.
So what did and so I know I think a couple questions I was thinking, but I just thought of one. An incredible story, right? From the knee injury to you getting outside just to kind of, get back, get your, body moving again and get your knee healthy. And then you're like, all right, I'm all in after the conversation with Yannick. So going from the medical field, a field that you have, and what degrees you have, to be clear for anyone that's listening?
Medical imaging, nursing, and sonography, which is ultrasound, and dental hygiene.
And you have a master's degree, right?
In nursing.
Yeah. So you're very well educated, right? And great schools in Louisville and Cincinnati and other places. And you start off doing door-to-door sales. I can only imagine friends, family, whatever, they're like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Like, what are you on? You know what I mean? So how did you, and unfortunately we have haters in our world. We have people that, for whatever insecurities they have or whatever, and some of them right or wrong, they just say things that, kind of affect us. How did you handle that when you were young in business and really no track record, right? You're just going off of, hey, inside, this feels right. I believe in it. I'm going to do it. How did you handle some of those people?
Oh, I know.
Maybe you didn't have any.
Oh, no, I had lots. Like, I had more. Actually, the only person outside of business that I didn't have it from was my boyfriend, my now husband, which hence why we're still together, obviously. But, he supported me 180%. I was very fortunate to have him. But, it's very interesting. One of the first doors that I ever knocked on was in Xenia, Ohio, and it was one of my professors from when I was in high school. I took actual classes at Northern Kentucky University to kind of get my gen eds out of the way, and it was one of my professors, and he was like, what are you doing? And I signed him up for green energy, and so I kind of got heat there. My mom, my dad's very supportive too. He's just that kind of personality. So he was kind of like, you know what, if you see something in it, and if you're driven and you're desired and this makes you happy, just always follow happiness. Don't ever follow anything else. But I know it was hard for him because my mom has no filter, and I have the best of both worlds. And so my mom was like, and in my ear, and I'm sure in his too. And at the end of the day, I realized she wasn't against me doing it because she didn't think she belittled it or thought of it. She just really was scared. She was super scared. She wanted me to be successful. She wanted me to work to my fullest potential. She wanted me to be happy, and she didn't understand the business. She didn't know anything about it. So I was very careful about how I talked to her about the opportunity. I sat down with my husband and said, listen, this is going to take a lot of my time, a lot of my energy. I'm going to put everything I have into this. Give me 6 months. I need 6 months of undivided just support and attention when, I'm asking for you to please chill out, or if I can't make it to a family event, or if I'm working, I choose to work on Christmas or whatever it is. And he said, okay. And I said, if in 6 months you don't see any improvements personally, professionally, we'll revisit this conversation. And he did. Well, my mom, on the other hand, was just like, how was your day? I can't believe you're walking around outside all day. Oh my gosh, take your mace, take your pepper spray. And I'm like, Mom, oh my God, literally there's a cow crossing the street right now. I'm safer here than I am walking down the street in my own home. It's fine. It's literally, I would Snapchat her to make her feel better. But she was just like, this isn't what you want to do. This isn't going anywhere. And I got to the point where, what we do is not physically challenging. It's mental growth, and you have to be 100% dedicated and know your goals and what you're shooting for, because that image in your head is why you keep going day to day. So it's so important to have a strong why. And I sat down with her, and because I hit a point where I ran into, once we switched to retail, one of the doctors that I worked for, the doctor's office I worked for was right across the street. And so they would go into Walmart sometimes, and I ran into the head doctor, and she completely went at me for 10 or 15 minutes, like she was my grandmother, and was like, what are you thinking? And this is ridiculous. You're standing in Walmart. And, I didn't expect her to understand. I just had to have my vision. And I told my mom, listen, Mom, I love you. I am doing this for me, and I know you don't get it, and that's okay. I don't expect you to, but I need you to trust me, and I either will have to push, I will either not talk to you for 6 months, because this is what I gave her the same conversation I had with Dave. And I said, I either need to not talk to you and push you out of my life. It's for the best of both of us. I promise you have to trust me. But if you cannot keep your thoughts in your mouth, in your head, I just can't talk to you now. If you can be supportive, I know it's hard for you, but if you can, great. We can continue to, go about our ways. And it was hard for her, because every time I saw her, she would bite her tongue, but I could see it, as soon as she would start, she'd stop and catch herself. And she came to my assistant manager promotion, and of course, at that point, she said, I knew you could do it. And then I opened, and she's like, I knew you could do it. And then I don't even think she realized the money I was making until probably the last year. When I think it was when I paid cash for my wedding. And she was like, well, what can we help with? What can I get? And I'm like, it's paid for. And she's like, what about your honeymoon? I mean, the wedding, the honeymoon, I think all in all, I spent around $130,000. And she was like, well, what can I help with? And I was like, I'm good. I paid cash for it. All our debt. She saw me pay off all of my debt, all of my husband's debt, put $300,000 down on a home. She saw me pay up cash for my wedding. She saw me, I'm comfortable. We're good.
Uh-oh.
You don't have to worry anymore.
Adrienne,
I just wanted her to feel secure.
I think we lost you there for a second, bud.
How about now?
Okay, you're good now. Yeah.
I'm good now. Okay, sorry, it's the country internet, I'm telling you. Well, what did you hear? What was the last thing? Where did it go?
We heard just the conversation with how you paid cash for your wedding and the honeymoon. And speaking of that, do you want to share with the team? So what did you do for your honeymoon? It's a fun story.
So for our honeymoon, I got married. Yes, it's a fun story. I got married in December of 2019, and we took almost a month honeymoon in Belize, my husband and I. We were going to go to Bali, but we chose Bali, Indonesia, but we ended up choosing Belize because I'm very, very, very passionate about philanthropy. And SIGCOR does a lot of work with the Liberty Children's Home in Belize. So I've always wanted to go, and I've talked about it since I found out about it. I mean, I was an owner in the field with Ken talking about it, and I was so passionate about getting out there. So I saw it as an opportunity to kill two birds with one stone and have a killer time on my honeymoon and get to spend time with the kids. Plus, I had reached out to Vera, who had put me in touch with the Agatha, who runs the nursing home. And those kids, it was Christmas. So we were there the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So we spent Christmas Day at the actual children's home with these kids. So a lot of them, as leading up to Christmas the day before, so some got taken by families or adopted, and then the ones that didn't, I stayed there with them and we played soccer or basketball or drew. Vera had just brought all these little tablets for them. So I wanted to make sure that I experienced that and got to meet them because I plan on going back frequently. And we had done a benefit and raised money, a few grand for them as well. So I had wanted to give and present that and just meet them like face to face. So we spent 4 days there. And then we spent, after we did that, we spent 5 days in the jungle. Glad we did it. We'll never do it again, but I'm glad I did it when I did it. Spent 5 days in a little hut in the jungle and with no electric. And they're like, don't leave after sunset because you think it's vines, but it's snakes hanging from the trees. And we're like, that's all you gotta say. Like, we'll be in bed, we won't leave the room, like because there's no electric or anything out there. And so we stayed out there and went and saw the Mayan ruins and went tubing and caving and did all this fun stuff. And then that was in like the jungle, like the I guess western part of Belize. Then we went to the city and we there's two big islands there. There's the Caye Caulker, and then there's San Pedro. That's their two main ones. So we went to Caye Caulker, and then they had like lost all their water or whatever, but the last day we lived. And then we went to San Pedro and stayed there, stayed on Secret Beach in a little hut on the beach, and got to kind of just chill and we did a lot of kayaking, you name it. If there's anything you can do in Belize, we did it, from jet skiing to parasailing to spending all day on a deserted island alone. We even thought it was a really good idea to have a few drinks and drive on a golf cart all the way up to Mexico, which on a map looks a half-hour away. It was like a 5-hour adventure, but we found some friends along the way, like in this deserted jungle, and had drinks with them. I don't know how safe it was, but it was fun. And then we spent 5 days on a catamaran. So I rented out an entire catamaran just for Dave and I, and we had a crew. We had a chef and a tour guide and a what's it called that like steers? Captain. We had a captain, and so we had 3 people on the catamaran, like staff, and then we had our whole own little bungalow, and we lived on this catamaran for 5 days, and we got all these private, little diving adventures and taken to these islands that people don't get to go to, and it was a great time. It was a month, and I don't know, the next time I'll do that, I'll probably be a senior national, so I really took it all in. I don't think I'll take a month off again until then, but it was very cool. Very, very cool.
Awesome.
It wouldn't have been possible without the business.
So you mentioned just rewarding yourself. I think it's so key to set milestones and reward yourself when you accomplish things. There's a story around goals and around being that rookie manager of the year, and I think that's a powerful story about how you did it. Less to do with less to do with my part in it, but I'll share that, and then you share what you did. Is that cool?
Yeah.
So one of Adrienne's very first calls she was on with our management team, she's a partner in the business, I made a comment, because we had opened a bunch of offices in that period of time, that if anyone in that group of people was rookie manager of the year, which is an extremely difficult thing to do, I would pay for them to go to a sporting event. Whatever sporting event they'd want to go to, the Final Four, Super Bowl, World Series, whatever it was. And that was Adrienne's very first call. And so you take it from here.
So that was the call I was talking about. It was my day one in my office. I had just set up, I had nothing but a computer like sitting on the floor, and he did his Lear Nation call. And I wrote down the second he said that, I wrote down, when I become rookie owner of the year, Ken Lear will buy 2 tickets to any sporting event, AKA the Final Four, and I will make all my dad's dreams come true. My dad, he has always wanted, we are diehard UK basketball fans, don't judge me. I will forever bleed blue. And we, I might have some enemies now, but my dad and I love UK, and it's something we've always had a connection over, and he's always wanted since the 70s. He has every game recorded. I mean, from VHS to TiVo to you name it, he has them. Let's go. Yes. So it was huge for me to win that. And I didn't ask questions. I didn't say, how do I get there? I didn't over obsess about it. I didn't think too much about it. I wrote it down. I posted it on my wall. So it was the first thing I saw every morning. My guys saw it. They asked me about it. We talked about it every single day. And I put in 110% every single day. I worked my ass off my first 8 months in business harder than I ever have in my entire life. But I was so pumped up on adrenaline and just coaching, training, building my office, focusing on my guys, that I never really thought about the actual, like, what I was doing. I still don't know exactly what I did to hit rookie owner of the year, but I remember getting the phone call from Shane Thurman, like, hey, like, you won rookie owner. And I was like, say what? And I was like, wait a minute. So I get to take my dad to the Final Four. And he was like, I don't know. I don't know what that is. And I was like, oh my God, I get to take my dad to the Final Four. And I remember I was driving to the park and with Dave, and I was like, I won rookie owner. And he was like, I'm so proud of you. What does that mean? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm taking my dad to the Final Four. And I remember being so excited because it was such a huge, my dad, he is my everything. Like, you guys don't even understand. He has always supported me even when it was hard, and when no one else did, he was there. He's like the only human being I know that 120% has always had my back. And a few years ago, I know that's a dream of his, but he would never spend the money to go. Like, I know him, and no matter how much he makes, he's so frugal. So I know he would never spend it. And a few years ago, he got Parkinson's. He retired and then found out right after he had Parkinson's. And so, he started kind of overthinking and worrying. And I was like, it's no big deal. Like, there's so much, medication stuff you can do to control it at this point in time. And he has it under great control. But all of a sudden, he just automatically, for some reason, shut down. Like, the traveling he wanted to do, he couldn't do anymore. And, the things that he wanted to go do with my mom also was battling breast cancer when I opened my office, which she's good now too. That was her second time having it. So for me, that was even more motivation for me to push through this business, because they had all these goals and dreams and things they wanted to do, and then, like, their health and things happen, and all of a sudden he's retired, but then there's a halt and they're limited to what they can do. And for me, I don't want to be limited. I want to retire in my 40s. I want to be able to travel and freedom of time and do what I want to do with my kid and my husband, and and take my dad to the Final Four and go back to Belize and take my team and my family with me, and things like that. So winning this, which got postponed because of COVID, and I know of this year too. So we probably won't go until, I'm guessing, 2022. But that's huge for me. And when I called my dad, Ken gave me a picture. I have it in a frame, and it says that I won it, and I took a picture and sent it to my dad, and his eyes got big and his jaw dropped, and I sent him my rookie owner speech recorded to tell him that I had won. So it was a big deal for me. It was a huge accomplishment for me.
I think at the conference and just in general, I had tears in my eyes, you telling that story about how much that meant to you. So I love it. And I'll tell you, speaking of setting goals. So 2020, tough year for a lot of companies in the world. A lot of massive companies closed. Your business did over $1 million in revenue in 2020. Pretty freaking awesome. You not only did that, you had a baby. Yeah, you obviously, there's so many things changing. What is your advice to people on this call that 2021, they want to make this year their game changer year, the year that they really start moving towards their goals and not being in the rat race of the same thing over and over and over and still living in their parents' basement kind of thing? What's your advice?
So I am forever and always grateful, first and foremost, for starting out on residential. It's different, and by different, what I mean is you see what average looks like on a day-to-day basis. You're knocking on doors of what people are comfortable living in every single day. People are so boring. They are mediocre. They are comfortable living paycheck to paycheck. They are comfortable living in these crowded, overpopulated little areas. They are comfortable, not having what they want, but instead of checking, like they're fine checking their bank account to make sure they can afford going to eat and stuff like that. Was never seeing that going door to door made me realize more than ever that I did not want to be average. I did not want to be mediocre. So I brought that into the field and I let that drive me. And even back in the field, back in Corey's office, residential, retail, you name it, I just set higher standards. I found, if standards, to me, standards is what we need to get by to stay up and running. So that's the way I just personally looked at it. Like, okay, if standards are 20 apps or whatever it is, $800 in production or $600 in production a week or whatever it is, I need to double that, because that is the only way I'm going to stand out. That is the only way I'm going to grab these guys' attention, especially starting in the business, is making it very clear that I am only here temporarily. I needed to show him that I was serious if I wanted time invested in me. And so when I opened my office, I did the same exact thing. 2021, there's more markets open than ever before. So many businesses closed, so many, a lot of people's opportunities got shut down, and we are one of the only businesses that thrived, besides probably like Zoom and Amazon, like that I know of, that just thrived through the pandemic. And going into 2021, hearing beer and stuff on these calls yesterday for Keys, there's more markets and more opportunity this year than ever. And if every single person doesn't hit the $1 million club, if every single person who wants promoted doesn't get promoted, look in the mirror, because literally, I think the best thing I can tell you is to take advantage of the now. The reason I could take that, I didn't know I was going to get engaged and get married. I had no idea that I was going to have my little bundle of joy. I remember telling Ken a year ago, I don't think I can get pregnant. I don't think I'll ever have kids. Like, I literally had that discussion with him a year ago this week and was telling him that. So you can imagine how surprised I was when I found out I had COVID and I was pregnant at the same time. It was a complete shock to me. So if I wouldn't have taken advantage of my now, I wouldn't have been in that position at that time. And so something I talk to my guys about a lot is be ready for your moment. Your moment might not be now. It might not be 6 months from now. It could be tomorrow. It could be 3 months. It could be a year. And I don't even know what your now or that your moment is going to be. You won't know. But once it comes, you'll be like, this is it. This is the moment I've been preparing for. This is the moment I've been busting my ass for. This is the moment. I now have the freedom financially and with time and whatever to do what I need to do. My office was stable while I was out on medical leave, nearly feeling dead. It was a horrible pregnancy. I can talk to anyone thinking about getting pregnant, call me first. But I was able to do that and still function and run a high powered office because of the time I had put into my guys, my office, the 6 months, the year, the 2 years prior to that. I was able to take a month honeymoon because I had spent a year planning for it and taking advantage of my now and my opportunity to coach and train my guys to stand on their own 2 feet, and they don't know anything else other than a high-powered office. I took advantage of my now. When I opened my office, I went down to one guy, and me and one other guy said, you know what, this is my opportunity to take it by the reins and grow it exactly how I want to do it, and it's up to me to set the example. I worked 7 days a week. I made sure that I put my guys first. I put in so much time and effort my 6 months in business. Fun fact, from I opened in April 30th and October 30th, that's 6 months apart exactly, I made my first profit. Wrap your head around that. I did not profit $1 in my business for 6 months, but I knew I was doing the right things. I went from me and one other person and built an office to 10 and then 15. And I had my first $10,000 wire at the end of October. I also, and by the end of October, I was doing my first $10,000 wire. I had my first my 10th person promoted to leadership. So I had 10 leaders, and I also profited for the first time since I had opened. That was huge for me. I had literally fought to stay above water, and then all of a sudden, boom, I hit and I had saved up 10 grand back in my corporate account again. That's what it was. It was 10, 10, 10. It took me 6 months to do that, but I knew I had faith and I trusted in the systems and I knew what I was working towards. Now, that's 6 months, right? October to January. 3 months, not even a full 3 months goes by, okay? I went from 10,000 in my corporate account to 111,000 in my corporate account. I went from 10 guys to 48 guys with 2 assistant managers promoted. And I went from profiting, I don't know, $1,000 or something like that, my first wire, to making that while I was at Keys that year, so around this week, that 2 years ago, I profited $25,000 that week while I was going to Disney World. That's huge because of the wire and because of my head count, because I was replicating the right way. Replicate your core group the way you are by putting in the time now, because it is so much easier and everything runs so much smoother. That broken cement theory is a real thing. Like, if you put in the time now and everything gets set in cement, smooth sailing. But if you half-ass something or don't give it your all and don't do it the right way, breaking that cement, chiseling it away and trying to restructure it is a hell of a lot harder. And we all do it. I've done it. I built an office. I was in production when we switched from res to retail. I had a shit show of a team. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. I have 11 first gens, 13 total was in production. It was a horrid situation. And so when I did it the second time, I got better. When I did it the third time, I got really good. By the time I opened my office, I was pretty decent. By the time I promoted to assistant managers, I was damn good at what I was doing. So it's taking advantage of your now and really knowing what you're working towards and putting in the work now. There's never been so much opportunity since I've been here as there is right now. And our whole business could triple this year easily, like super easily. The mask, the pandemic, it's the new normal. So there's no excuses. If anything, people are craving interaction with other people because this Zoom thing, everyone's over it. Everyone's over it. So take advantage of it. I mean, literally, that's how I managed to hit the $1 million. I don't look at numbers. I don't look at my wires. I don't look at my numbers. I had no idea how close I was. I didn't know until I was taking a bath with my child, not like a relaxing one, like bubble time with my little one. And Vera called me to congratulate me on being one of 4 offices to hit the $1 million club. And I didn't even know. I had no idea. I focused on my guys and their individual goals, and through individual goals, find our office goals. And I'm telling you, if you just put in the time and care about the people and do the right things, the money and the numbers follow. It's something that I don't even focus on.
All right, very good. And last question, Adrienne, thank you so much for doing this today. Obviously you and I are talking a lot more this year than we have before, which I'm super excited about, helping you reach your dreams and your goals, and just do my best to be a bit of a, support behind the scenes, because you obviously have to do all the work and you're running your own business and doing your thing. One thing I've noticed lately with talented people, and you know, we just went through a pandemic. There's a lot of people that live on their own. They don't have, you know, Dave, and for me, Sarah and my kids. And I forget this sometimes, that I was trying to put myself in our guys' shoes, you know, in their 20s, maybe they're on their own, maybe they are living still with their families, because, you know, life's tough in a lot of places. So, you know, but they got to make changes, right? They got to maybe get in the gym consistently, or eat healthy, or start reading books, or surrounding themselves with just great people, and removing those people in their life. They're not really helping them reach their goals. Final thoughts on just like day-to-day habits of people that will take advantage of things this year. Because, you know, we could have all the opportunity in the world for people, but, you know, I've learned, you know, people say that you're lucky, right? I'm sure somebody told you, you're so lucky, Adrienne. But luck in my eyes is when opportunity meets preparation, right? This opportunity we have, and not just in our business, but in the world of business, there's opportunities that come and go. But at 22, 23, for me, I was preparing myself. I knew I was going to do something. For you, you did 12 years in the medical field, all this education and else. If you didn't have that experience, you may not have been prepared for this opportunity, right? So they got to meet. So final thoughts on people making decisions, habit changes, things like that.
Yes. So I talk to my guys about this all the time, because we do bring in a lot of people that are 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 new grads or in college. And I was way past that. I was almost 30 years old. And there's one thing I realize now more than ever is corporate sucks so bad. Corporate is the reason, you know, I mean, all these corporate companies, first and foremost, are the ones that are struggling more now than ever. Like, I hate being told I can't take off work, especially when I work 90 hours. Like, I got rejected my vacation. I had not had a vacation. I had not had a day off in 7.5 years. Not one day. Never missed a day of work. Never called in. I had over, in my vacation rolls, I had 7.5 years of vacation, but every time I put in for it, I got rejected for it because I was needed. So first and foremost, I don't like that. I don't like being told I've earned this, but I can't use it. Second thing I realized is, if you don't have the freedom of time or the mental ability, you know, to stay sane, you can't even, it doesn't matter how much money you make, there's no happiness. There's not. It's, I used to think it was be successful or be a wife and a mom and a great daughter and have a social life. With this business, you can be successful and be a mom, be a business owner, a badass business owner, have freedom of time, do what you want, be retired by 40. Like, for me, I'm just trying to play catch up. That's why I'm grinding so hard, because I feel like you guys that are younger, you're 10 years ahead of me. I mean, by the time you're my age, you could basically be making 2 million in overrides, and I'm just now getting started. So, you know, it's really taking advantage of the opportunity, seeing it in front of you, whatever your goals are. If it's to go make $2,000 a week to save money, if it's to, I mean, I've had people tell me, I just want to swim in a pool. I want to put money in my bathtub and sit in it and take pictures. You go then. You go save so much money, and I'll be your photographer, and we will do a bathtub. Like, let's pop bottles and celebrate. And then I've had people that are, you know, driving, they want a car. They want, you know, my Bugatti. That's like you can't buy a $3 million car without going big places, right? So, you know, it's taking a step back to go forward. Trade in, I went from a penthouse, a $2,100 a month apartment to a $750 apartment when I hit the field. I traded in my GT Mustang Shelby for a Mazda 3. Right now, I drive a RAV4, not because I have to, but because I'd rather my husband have his $75,000 truck, and I would rather drive my RAV4, save money on gas, and when I get promoted to consultant, I'll go drive my Porsche, okay? But in the meantime, I also have priorities to put $300,000. I bought a house and spent 600 grand on that this summer. Like, well, people were in a pandemic. I was buying a $500,000 plus home, you know, like out in the country because I was 7 months pregnant and panicking. So, you know, it's really just taking the tools. The business has the tools. It's up to you to take advantage of it. You're not spoon fed anything. No one's going to sit there and, you know, it's pretty much out in front of your face, but it's up to you to grab it. My owner was 7, he was what, like 3, 4 years younger, 5 years younger than me. He's younger than I am. And so I remember thinking, like, if this little frat boy can do it, like, I will not leave. If I leave this business, it would be shameful to myself. But I wasn't always learning from him. So he taught me the systems and he taught me a few other things. But I reached out to people, network. You guys have so much opportunity to network and take advantage. And people, I started reaching out to Ken. I wanted to be consultant, not an owner. And I started reaching out to Shane Thurman. I asked Corey, hey, there's only 3 people in our office right now. I know you're just getting up and started, and I love the opportunity to see you grow from the ground up. It's going to teach me a lot if I open an office, but I'm not learning. I feel like after, you know, the last month or 2, I haven't learned a lot. Can I go up? Can I leave tonight? I'll hit the field and then drive straight to Illinois and see how Ben and Shane in a high-powered office runs, because Jane Rowe had trained me my day 1, and then we ended up sharing an office space in Columbus together, you know, 2.5 years later. So you never know how that's going to work out. But, you know, I remember asking, and he was kind of shocked, but he wasn't offended. He was just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't, let me make a call, but I don't think that'd be a problem. And I went up there and met people. In my first NatCon, I came back with over 30 phone numbers. It's LOAs. Out of those 30 phone numbers, maybe 20 answered my call, maybe 10 were worth talking to. I still talk to 5 of them regularly. One's Carmen Sullivan, she runs an office. Des, who also was at Rising Star with me. You know, Ken Lear gave me his number, and I thought I was so cool because I got a consultant's number. Like, you know, you just get these numbers and you take advantage and you talk. So, yeah, if there's one thing I can tell you guys, it's take advantage of the tools, take advantage of the time you have. This being virtual, the one thing that, I mean, there's a few things that's good, but one of the biggest is being able to spend more time with the people over. I mean, I don't have to drive an hour to meet people and see. I can just boom, click a button, and that saves me an hour. That's a whole nother hour I have to dedicate my time to my team or people that want help. So I'll leave you with my phone number too, if you'd like. I'll put it, you want me to put that in the chat?
Yeah, give me 1 second here. I'm gonna stop recording and then you can do that. So okay. It's not on YouTube for you. But so Adrienne, first of all, thank you. Thank you. Nothing but love for you. I'll tell you, I had an opportunity to fly in for the day to North Carolina to the wedding that she put on for herself and her family, and I got a chance to meet her parents and meet the people that were close to her. And man, like there's nothing more beautiful than having family together, an event like that, and knowing as a bride that you paid for it. That your hard work, you know, and in the world we're in, oftentimes parents and, you know, different people help support that. But the fact that you did that because of your choices was just so proud. And it was also really cool to meet her dad, because her dad, you know, like shook my hand and with kind of almost tears in his eyes said, thank you for the opportunity to go to the, you know, the basketball game. So I thought that was awesome. But Adrienne, thank you so much. We appreciate you. I hear a little one in the background crying a little bit there, so maybe a little bit. Yeah. So, and just so you guys know, later today, Adrienne, today or tomorrow when you're on the panel? Is it today? I think
today.
Right?
Mm-hmm, today.
Yeah. So she's going to be on a panel for people in our business that have hit over the $1 million during the pandemic. So she's going to talk in front of 800 to 1,000 people over Zoom later today, sharing her story, which, you know, if this is just a warm up, right? We got about 30 people on this morning. So this is a warm up. Make sure, I know you're prepared, you're ready to go, but just remember,
I'm excited.
Have fun.